I knew I shouldn't have walked in with my hoodie up. I knew it. But it was cold as hell and I just needed oat milk, that's it. Oat milk, not a lecture, not a goddamn police report, just a $3.99 carton from the corner store so I could open my shop on time. I own Brew and Ground down on 8th and Linden. Nothing fancy, just 4 bar stools, 2 mismatched couches, and a roaster I spent half my life saving for. It's mine. Every inch of that place is mine. But you wouldn't know it from the way people look at me when I unlock the front door, like I'm breaking into it, like I don't belong. This morning was worse. The clerk knows me. The regulars know me. Hell, even the cop who parks outside for a free cup knows me. But that didn't stop Officer Callahan from putting his hand on his gun the moment I turned around with a half-gallon of oat milk in my hand and a receipt in my hoodie pocket. "Sir, is that paid for, son?" I laughed, out loud, because I thought it was a joke. I showed him the receipt. He didn't even read it. "I'm going to need you to step outside." I asked why, and that's when he said it, the word aggressive. Man, let me tell you something. There is no more dangerous word for a black man with a beard and a tired face than aggressive. That's a trigger word, that's code. That's the beginning of a headline that ends with a casket, and the worst part, I wasn't even surprised. Just tired. So damn tired. I ain't saying today was the worst day I've ever had, but it damn sure made the list. You know those mornings where everything feels off before you even get out of bed? Like the air's thicker, heavier, like something's waiting around the corner. That was today. Alarm hit 5:30. I rolled over, stared at the ceiling fan for a solid 5 minutes, asking myself why I keep doing this. Why I keep opening a shop in a neighborhood that still clutches its purse when I walk by. Why I keep trying to make something out of nothing when the system keeps throwing the whole damn book at me. And all I wanted, was to keep Brew and Ground alive another day. That's my cafe. Built it from scratch. Brick walls, polished floors, hand-lettered menu, the whole vibe. I even painted the front myself last summer, twice, after some genius spray-painted the N-word across the window. I remember standing there with a roller in my hand thinking maybe it was a sign to pack up. But I didn't. 'Cause this place, it ain't just coffee. It's my name, my grind, my legacy. So yeah, I threw on my hoodie. Hood up, yeah, it was cold, and headed to Miller's Market down the block. I needed oat milk and cream. That's all. Nothing dramatic. Nothing headline-worthy. But the minute I stepped inside, I felt it. That heat. That burn on the back of your neck when somebody's watching you but trying to act like they ain't. You start questioning your own damn posture. Am I standing too tall? Am I walking too fast? Am I reaching for my phone too quick? I grabbed what I needed and headed to the register, same cashier I see every other morning. Gave her the nod, paid, took the receipt, walked toward the door, and there he was. Officer damn Callahan, parked just outside like he always is. Only this time he didn't give me the lazy wave. This time he stepped in. This time he looked at me like he didn't recognize me. Like I wasn't the same guy who gave him a free scone last week when he was flirting with Maya at the register. "Sir, did you pay for that?" I blinked. Thought maybe he was talking to someone behind me. But nah, eyes locked on me. I held up the receipt, plain as day. "You want to read it?" I said, half laughing, half tired as hell. He didn't move. "I'm gonna need you to step outside." I told him no, not 'cause I was trying to start nothing, but 'cause I had somewhere to be, a cafe to open, a whole life to live that didn't include being handcuffed on the sidewalk for a carton of fucking oat milk. That's when he said it. "You're being aggressive." And let me tell you something, I could feel my whole bloodstream boil, 'cause that word ain't innocent. That word's a weapon. That word's been used more times than I can count to justify knees on necks, bullets in backs, cages around wrists. You call a black man aggressive in a white neighborhood, you might as well be calling for backup. And I knew, God, I knew I had to freeze, had to breathe, had to shrink myself right there in that moment just to stay alive. But damn it, I didn't want to. I wanted to scream. To ask him why the hell he was doing this. To ask him if he forgot my name. My face. The scones. The fact that I've lived on this block longer than his squad car's been parked outside it. But instead I just stared at him, with the kind of look that says, "You're breaking something in me that I'm tired of fixing." He didn't care. He just stood there, hand on his belt, other one hovering close to his holster. And all I could think about, as my fingers gripped the receipt tighter, was how fast this could go sideways. How one wrong move, one wrong tone, one wrong goddamn blink, and I'd be a name. A hashtag. A mural on the wall of my own damn cafe. That's when the others walked by. White folks in Patagonia fleeces and yoga pants, stepping out with their kombucha and organic cereal, not saying a word, not asking a question, just letting it happen. 'Cause deep down, they were used to it. This wasn't new to them. This was just Tuesday. And me. I was just another aggressive man in a hoodie. But not today, not this time. I walked back to the cafe, creamer in hand, soul bruised, but breathing. And I knew this wasn't over. I didn't even unlock the cafe right away. Just stood there on the sidewalk, keys in my hand, chest tight like I'd swallowed the whole morning. You ever feel so small and so furious at the same time? It's like your skin don't even fit, right? That's what it was, that kind of fire that don't have nowhere to go. I looked across the street. Same neighbor, same damn porch, same fake little wave. She saw the whole thing. She always sees the whole thing. But you think she ever said anything? Not once. She just sips her lukewarm coffee and watches, like racism's some morning entertainment special. I bet she calls it community awareness on her Nextdoor profile. I finally got myself inside, but it felt different today. Like the walls had been watching too. The quiet was too quiet. The chairs looked colder. The grind from the espresso machine sounded sharper, more metallic. I kept playing that scene in my head over and over. His voice, that word, aggressive. The way he said it like it was just fact, like it came with a damn badge. And then I started wondering, how many people in this neighborhood would have believed him without question? If he'd written it up, if he'd gone further, if I'd said anything else. My word don't count like theirs. That's the rule nobody writes down, but everybody knows. And the worst part, the very worst part, I ain't even surprised anymore. That's the sickness. That's how they get you. You stop expecting fairness, you stop hoping for protection, you just want to survive the day and maybe sell enough lattes to pay rent. I was standing behind the counter, trying to pull myself together when Evan walked in. You know when somebody walks in and you can already feel what they're gonna say? I didn't even look up at first, just kept wiping the counter even though it was already clean. He said, "Hey." I said, "You saw it?" He nodded. Yeah. Silence. I turned to him then, real slow. "And you just watched?" He flinched like the question stung. "Good. It was supposed to—" I didn't know what to do, he said, looking down, like the floor was gonna bail him out. "Bullshit," I snapped, louder than I meant to. "You knew, you always know, you just don't do. You—" The words were out before I could stop them, but I didn't regret them. Not one bit. I'd been holding back for too damn long. He tried to say something, but I cut him off. "You're not a stranger, Evan. You're not some guy on the sidewalk who don't know better. You love me. At least that's what you said last week in my bed when no one was looking." That hit him. Square in the chest. "Good. I can't keep being your secret in private and your burden in public," I said, voice shaken now. "That ain't love, that's cowardice." He didn't deny it, didn't defend it, didn't say a damn thing. And in that silence I realized he ain't the enemy, but he sure as hell ain't the solution either. I grabbed my apron, tied it like armor. Customers would be in soon. Life don't pause for heartbreak or handcuffs. And deep down, I knew this ain't just about him, or Callahan, or any one person. This is about the whole damn machine, and I was done running on its gears. You ever sit at your own desk and feel like a damn visitor? That's what it felt like Monday morning. Same creaky chair, same chipped mug, same login screen, but the air was different, thicker, like it was trying to swallow me whole. And it wasn't just me, they all saw it. The whole team. Nobody said a damn thing, not even a you, okay? Not even a what happened out there. Just eyes that flicker and faces that duck. Like I'm radioactive now. You know what silence is in an office like that? It ain't peace, it's guilt's favorite disguise. Ilts. I sat there pretending to read emails, fingers hovering above the keyboard like they forgot how to type. Every click of a mouse in the room felt like a gunshot. Every cough, every cleared throat, just another reminder that they were choosing comfort over justice. Again. I went to the break room at 10, like always, poured myself a coffee. Someone left a sticky note on the fridge. "Team lunch this Friday." I stared at it a little too long. A few months ago, That would have made me smile. Now it felt like an inside joke I wasn't part of anymore. Then I heard it, 2 desks over. A whisper. Drama queen. They didn't say it loud. They didn't have to. I turned my head just enough to see Jennifer smirking into her yogurt. She saw me. Didn't even flinch, just raised her eyebrows like what? And went back to her spreadsheet. I walked back to my desk, heartbeat louder than my footsteps. Sat down. Didn't even try to work. Just stared at my reflection in the black monitor screen. You ever really look at yourself in one of those? I mean really look. I saw a woman who had bent over backwards to be twice as good, twice as polite, twice as patient. And for what? So I could be called aggressive in front of my neighbors and dramatic behind my back? I started typing, but it wasn't a report. It was a document I'd thought about 100 times before and never dared open. Formal complaint, officer conduct incident, July 7th. The words hit the screen like thunder. I didn't even care if anyone saw me typing it. Let them. Let them watch me finally fight back. This wasn't a bad morning. This wasn't just one cop having a bad day. This was the system doing what it was built to do, and I was done making excuses for it. It took me 3 whole minutes to hover over that goddamn send button, not because I was unsure of what happened, not because I needed more time to cool off, but because I knew. Once I sent that complaint, I wasn't just filing paperwork. I was drawing a line in the sand. I was lighting a fuse. The HR form was cold, sterile. No room for nuance, just describe the incident in detail. So I did. I typed every damn word of it like a confession written in fire. How Officer Rayfield yanked me from my car without cause. How he kept one hand on his weapon while the other accused my voice of being agitated. How he pressed my face against the hood while my neighbors filmed from behind their curtains. And how, when I reached for my bag, he told dispatch I was resisting. No, not today. I walked down the hallway with that file in a manila envelope like it was dynamite in my hand. I didn't tell anyone. Didn't look left or right, just marched straight to HR. Past the posters that say, "We listen," past the empty diversity and inclusion bulletin board, straight into the office of Carla Jennings, the HR director who always signs her emails with a sunflower emoji. She looked up and smiled. "Jordan, everything okay?" I placed the envelope on her desk like it was a body I had to bury. "No," I said, voice dry as sand. "But I'm working on it." Her smile twitched, then vanished. She didn't even ask what was inside. Just nodded slowly and said, "All right, we'll review this and be in touch." She didn't offer a seat. I didn't ask for one. I turned around and walked back into that corridor, each step echoing like a drumbeat. I could feel eyes on me, maybe curious, maybe scared, maybe both. Let them wonder. I went back to my desk, sat down, opened a blank doc, and this time I started writing something else, a speech, not just for my dignity, not just for Evan, not even for justice, but because I knew now they needed to hear it. From me, unfiltered, unapologetic. They sat quiet when I was humiliated. They whispered when I bled in silence. Now they would sit and listen while I spoke, loud, clear, and on the record. He found me on the rooftop, same spot we'd shared coffee in when things were lighter, when us was still a secret we could afford to keep. But this time, I wasn't sipping anything. I was leaning on the railing like I might push the whole goddamn building down if I gripped it any tighter. Evan stepped out slowly, hands in pockets, looking like a man who wanted to help but didn't know where to place his hands, or his guilt. "Jordan," he said, like my name alone could smooth everything over. I didn't even turn around. "Don't." He stayed silent. I could hear his shoes shuffle on the concrete. That hesitation, that careful dance white people do when they want to help, but fear they'll mess it up. "Guess what? You already did." "I heard what happened with Officer Rayfield," he finally said. I didn't know it was that bad." My laugh was dry and sharp. "You didn't know. Evan, I told you. The second it happened, I told you. And you said, maybe it was a misunderstanding. You chose not to know." He took a step closer. "I didn't mean to downplay it. I panicked. It was a lot." "For you?" I snapped, turning to face him now, eyes narrowed like blades. "It was a lot for you. He looked like he wanted to shrink. I didn't want to make it worse. And so you did nothing, I said, biting each word. You watched them treat me like I was dangerous, like I didn't belong, and you stood there pretending not to see. His voice cracked. It's not that I didn't see, You're not my savior, Evan, I interrupted, stepping forward. I don't need your guilt. I don't need your fucking silence. I needed a partner, someone who'd stand beside me, not hover behind me like a ghost who only shows up when the coast is clear. I was scared, he said, softer than before, of what people would say if they knew about us, about me. That hit hard, not because it was surprising, but because I'd feared it for months. I looked at him, really looked at him, blue eyes clouded with shame, shoulders sagging from weight he'd never truly carried, and I realized I couldn't teach him how to be brave. That was his work, and I was done babysitting anyone's learning curve while bleeding from mine. I didn't tell HR about you, I said finally, because you're not the villain in that report. But don't get it twisted. Your silence played its part. He swallowed hard, nodded, took a step back. I turned away again. Let the sunset fill my eyes, not him. Somewhere between love and rage, I found clarity. This isn't about being right anymore. It's about finally being heard. The next morning felt different, not because anything looked different. Same office lights humming like anxiety, same beige walls that sucked the color out of your soul. But the silence had changed. It wasn't empty anymore. It was watchful. Eyes flicked up when I passed. Conversations cut short, then restarted in lowered tones. You'd think I was the one with something to hide, but I didn't flinch, because for the first time in a long damn while, the whispers weren't about me. They were about him, Evan. Apparently someone saw him on the rooftop with me. Apparently someone heard the end of our conversation. And apparently HR doesn't like internal liabilities. Good. Let the empire turn on its own builder for once. He tried to catch my eye in the hallway, gave me that weak half-smile white men offer when they still think they deserve forgiveness for being spineless. I didn't return it. Didn't even nod. You don't get eye contact from me anymore. I sat at my desk and opened my laptop, not to work, please, but to finish what I started, the formal complaint. Not a rant, not a cry for help, just truth, served cold, in bullet points and timestamps. I included the officer's full name, the exact words he used when he called me aggressive for asking where my delivery was. I mentioned the looks from other staff when I raised my voice, how they didn't see an upset customer. They saw a threat. I included Evan's role too, not to ruin him. Just so they'd know that when the fire started, he chose to watch me burn from a safe distance. By lunch, I handed it in. By 2 p.m., HR had already scheduled a review session, but I didn't care. I wasn't afraid of consequences anymore. I was afraid of living one more day pretending I wasn't bleeding in a place that kept handing out paper towels instead of bandages. Evan texted me later that evening. Can we talk? I deleted it without replying. I had nothing left to say, and honestly, he had nothing left to hear. They called me into conference room B like it was any other Wednesday. But I knew that tone. You don't say, "Can you step in for a quick chat?" unless someone's about to get blamed for their own damn bruises. The room was freezing. Not just the AC, the people. 3 of them seated, all white, all with the same HR face. That polite panic look that says, "We know this is bad, but we're really hoping you won't make us deal with it." And I swear, if one more person offered me a bottle of water like I was about to faint, I was going to throw it across the room. "Jordan, first off, we want to say we really appreciate your dedication to this company." Oh, that speech, the one they give before they tell you your anger is the real problem. They slid a copy of my complaint across the table like it was a menu. The guy on the left, Ben, I think, he leaned forward like he was sharing a secret. "We just want to make sure you're perceiving things accurately." I laughed, like really laughed, right there, loud, ugly, from the gut. Perceiving. You think I imagined that officer calling me aggressive while holding my ID like it was radioactive? You think I dreamed up Evan, staring at the floor like his shoes were more interesting than me being verbally assaulted in front of our co-workers? Perceiving? No, baby, I lived it. Ben tried again. What we're trying to say is sometimes context can be, no. I cut him off, calm but loud enough. What you're trying to say is, shut up, Jordan, or we'll make this your fault. Silence, not the kind that listens, the kind that calculates. The woman in the blazer, Janet maybe, finally said, we're just trying to preserve a positive environment. I leaned back in my chair, crossed my arms, looked them dead in the eye. You ever stop to ask why the environment feels so negative in the first place? More silence, more blinking. I stood up slow, collected my complaint letter from the table. Let me make something real clear. This isn't a conversation. This is documentation. Then I left. Didn't wait for a response. Didn't want one. Because when someone tells you your pain is too inconvenient for their image, they've already picked a side. I sat on that metal bench outside the building, staring at the street like it had answers. People passed by, some laughing, some on calls, some pretending not to see the black woman who looked like she just walked out of a war she couldn't name. And maybe I had. I didn't cry, I couldn't. Not because I didn't want to, but because if I let even one tear fall, it would turn into a flood, and I didn't have the energy to swim. You ever get that feeling? Like the world just decided you were the one who had to carry all its guilt. Like you walk into rooms where everyone else gets to be normal, but you're the reminder of everything they don't want to admit. I had replayed that meeting in my head 5 times already. The water bottle, the neutral tones, the perception talk. God, how many times do we have to explain what we live through before someone actually believes us? And Evan, don't even get me started. He saw everything, every microaggression, every look, every joke that wasn't a joke. And you know what he did? He shrunk into himself, like maybe if he was quiet enough, invisible enough, it wouldn't touch him. So I get it. White guilt is a hell of a silencer, but damn, I wasn't asking him to save me, I just wanted him to say something. One thing, anything, because silence from someone you love, that hits deeper than any slur. I looked up at the sky, grey like it couldn't make up its damn mind, and I thought to myself, this is what gaslighting looks like when it wears a tie, when it works 9 to 5, when it drinks kombucha and says diversity on LinkedIn bios. I wasn't crazy, I wasn't dramatic. I was done, not broken, not bitter, just done pretending this wasn't happening. So I pulled out my phone, opened that complaint draft, and I wrote, not because I thought they'd listen, but because I needed one damn sentence in this whole damn building that came from me, that wasn't filtered, that wasn't minimized, that wasn't swallowed so someone else could stay comfortable. Just me. Finally. He stood there like he belonged. Like the weight of everything that had happened didn't hang in the air between us, like a wet towel on fire. I didn't move, didn't even blink, just sat on that same cold bench, phone still in my hand, draft still open, and looked at him like he was a stranger who knew too much about me. Jordan, I held up a hand, that was all it took, not a yell, not a breakdown, just 5 fingers in the air saying don't. His eyes dropped, like he couldn't hold my gaze without feeling all the things he'd refused to say out loud. I swear, for a man who had so much to say in private, he sure went quiet when the world needed his voice. You know what's wild? I said, finally standing. My voice wasn't shaking, it was surgical. You get to come here clean, whole, untouched. You get to say, I didn't know what to do, and people nod, and pat you on the back, and call you a good guy. He opened his mouth. I stepped forward. No, you don't get to speak now. You had every hallway, every elevator ride, every lunch break to say something. You had me, in front of you, breaking. I was scared, he muttered. Yeah. And I was black, I shot back. Guess which one gets you fired faster? The words hung there like static. No one moved, even the city seemed to hold its breath. I didn't ask you to fix anything, I said, softer now. I just needed you to not disappear. He took a step forward. I took one back. You don't get to come running now that I've found my feet. I needed a partner, not a shadow. He looked hurt. Good, because I had been bleeding in silence while he watched, and now he was the one uncomfortable. Jordan, please, let me explain. I laughed, sharp, empty. You want to explain, write a letter, make a TikTok, start a podcast, I don't care. I picked up my bag. I have a meeting, for a job I earned, with a voice I remembered I had. And I walked, not fast, Not slow, but the kind of walk that says, "This chapter ends here." There's something about typing in silence that feels like confession. Each keystroke heavy, like I'm chiseling away at all the versions of myself I had to bury just to keep a paycheck. I'm sitting in the conference room, not the fancy one they use for investor calls. This one's got the cheap plastic chairs and the echoey walls where no one ever listens. Fitting. Laptop open, cursor blinking. I start with the date and then my name, then the line I've rewritten in my head 1,000 times. To whom it may concern, though I doubt concern was ever really the problem. It pours out after that. I list the names, the moments, the lunch breaks where slurs were whispered loud enough to feel like punches, the emails ignored, the smirks, the way they always forgot to CC me, the way my ideas sounded better when someone else, someone paler, repeated them. My fingers don't shake, not anymore. Because the truth is, I'm done asking for dignity in lowercase. I type with the full weight of every black woman who swallowed rage like aspirin just to survive Monday mornings. And when I reach the end, when I finally write, I am not filing this for revenge. I am filing this so the next woman doesn't have to wonder if she's crazy. I am filing this because silence, in this place, has always protected the wrong people. My chest expands, not with pride, but with relief, like someone finally cracked a window in a smoke-filled room. I hit save, then print. As the pages glide out of the printer, I see it. Save version of me staring back from the reflection of the glass, tired, but standing, and I think, maybe that's the only revolution that matters. Not burning down the building, but refusing to vanish inside it. It took me 2 days to even step foot in the shop again, not because I was scared of who might be there, but because I was scared of what it would feel like to see my reflection in those glass doors and not recognize the man looking back at me. I'd built that place to be something different. Something safe. Something that felt like home, for me, for my community, for the kids who'd never had a chance to walk into a place like that and be treated like they belonged. And yet, I was the one dragged out like I was trespassing. The moment I unlocked the door, the chime above my head rang like any other day. But nothing about it felt normal. The lights were still on a timer, the chairs still perfectly aligned, my favorite mug still sitting by the register, like it had been waiting on me to come back and take a sip like nothing ever happened. And for a second, I wanted to pretend it hadn't. I wanted to pour a coffee, turn on the speakers, and act like I hadn't been pinned to the floor in my own damn business. But I couldn't, because everything felt different now. I noticed every silence, every glance, every shadow that moved past the window felt like a test, like the universe was daring me to act like I hadn't been changed. But I was changed, and I couldn't unfeel the way my chest had tightened when I saw the officer reach for his belt. I couldn't unhear the way one of my own employees said, I didn't know he owned the place, like that somehow justified standing back and doing nothing. So I sat down, right there in the middle of the shop, lights on, door unlocked, phone off, and I let it all hit me, the anger, the betrayal, the exhaustion, but also the fire. That slow-burning, undeniable fire that said, you don't walk away from this. Not now. Not after everything. I didn't build this place so I could be afraid in it. I built it to take up space, to own something without apologizing for it, to show the next black boy with big dreams and a clean pair of sneakers that he didn't have to shrink himself to fit in someone else's room. He could build his own, and that's what I was going to do again on my terms. You know, people always expect justice to be loud. They think it comes crashing through the front door with a badge and a press release. But the real kind of justice? The one that takes something from your soul and stitches it back together? That one arrives quietly, sometimes in the middle of a Tuesday, when the air is too still and your palms are too cold. He didn't expect to see me. I know that because when he opened the door to the conference room and saw me standing there, tall, collected, dressed not like a victim, but like someone who had survived, he flinched, just a little, but I saw it. And I held his gaze long enough for him to know, yeah, I saw everything. Not just him, not just what he did to me, but the way the whole room let it happen. I walked to the front of the room, slower than I needed to, because I wanted them all to feel the weight of my steps. The silence was thick, no phones, no whispers, no polite smiles, just me, A black man who built something of his own, who paid taxes, who played the game and still had to drag his dignity out from under someone else's boot. And now I was here to teach. My name was on the screen. My words were in their notebooks. The man who said I didn't belong was now sitting in the back row, watching the room listen to me. Let that sit for a minute. You spend your whole life being told what you're not. Too loud, too angry, too black. But no one ever prepares for the moment when you stop arguing and start proving them wrong just by existing in a space they tried to keep you out of. I taught that training with everything I had. Not because I had something to prove, no, that phase of my life was over. I did it because I knew there was someone else in that crowd. Younger, maybe, quieter, maybe, thinking they had to shrink to survive. I wanted them to see what it looked like to take up space without apology. And when it was over, no one clapped. They just stood there, quiet, uncomfortable, humbled, good, because change doesn't start with applause. It starts when the ones who did the wrong thing are forced to sit in the room and listen. Because stories like this happen more often than we admit. If you believe the silence needs to be broken, subscribe, and help us make sure it never stays quiet again.